A pleasant good night to one and all. It is good to be here in St. Peter, and I want to thank you, the good people of St. Peter, and the members and supporters of the Barbados Labour Party for showing considerable restraint. We were just invaded by the Democratic Labour Party candidate for St. Peter. And I want to thank you on behalf of the party for ensuring that he was not harmed, that he is safe, so that when he loses his deposit on the 11th of February, he will know that he is safe with the Barbados Labour Party. I have come tonight to put a case for a man who has worked tirelessly hard to ensure that the working peoples of this country have had their interests protected, have had their rights advanced, and have had their concerns listened to. You have given to the Barbados Labour Party administration a giant of a man in Colin Jordan, who has come back to you to ask for a renewal of that relationship, a renewal of that mandate. And in Colin Jordan, my friends, you will find one of the best ministers of labor that this country has ever seen. And I'm not saying so because he's my friend and he's my colleague. I'm saying so because we live in a world where the dynamics are changing rapidly every day. We are seeing the disruption of systems that have existed, that brought balance, that brought certainty to the world economic affairs and the world order over the last 50, 60, 70 years. We have seen crises after crises as small islands. Dr. Rommel Springer just spoke to you about some of the challenges that we face. But no country has seen what we have seen in the last 10 years or so. The global pandemic has had the most significant impact on working people. But we have had, at the leadership of the Ministry of Labour, Colin Jordan, and you know, working people in Barbados can tell you, we did not suffer as if we were under the Dems. And I want to make the case tonight to remind you what working people suffered under the Democratic Labour Party and what Colin Jordan has done as the Minister of Labour in the name of the Barbados Labour Party and in service to you of the people. Trade unions in this country under the Democratic Labour Party were under attack. School teachers who were members of the two teachers' unions in Barbados could not go to meetings without their pay being docked unlawfully by the Ronald Jones Ministry of Education. When we were going to school, teachers left and went to union meetings routinely. The schools were not disrupted. Skeleton staff and the prefects would take care and make sure that everyone is okay. Children were not in danger. But Ronald Jones and the Democratic Labour Party docked teachers' pay for attending union meetings. And we in the Barbados Labour Party went to court on behalf of the teachers' unions to restore that pay. And it was paid back by the Barbados Labour Party administration. Teachers have had terms leave. After 10 years, you get a terms leave with pay. The Democratic Labour Party took away that from teachers. We've restored it. They went down to the BIDC and sent home everybody above the age of 60 years old. In 2014, December 2013, Christopher Sinclair went to Parliament with a ministerial statement and sent home all of the temporary workers in the government service. 3,000 people went home under the Democratic Labour Party. This is the record of the last administration when it comes to labor. But what has Colin Jordan's leadership brought to the labor landscape in the challenging times that we have faced? In 2021, in the middle of the pandemic, this government introduced for the first time a minimum wage legislation, increasing the minimum wage that was operating by way of convention, but could never be enforced, to $10.50. To $8.50, sorry. Increased 1st of July last year to $10.50, and now to $10.71. And we were told, and I remembered the convicted felon by the name of Donville Innes, who the media is just jerk a mic in front of his mouth every now and again to comment on public affairs, saying that it would mean the end of businesses in Barbados. Businesses will collapse because the Barbados Labour Party brought into law a minimum wage. People like security guards, people that are working at gas stations, shop assistants, all across the urban corridor and even here in Speightstown and across the businesses. They told you it could not be done. But yet we have had 2 increases in that minimum wage since the law has been passed, and the businesses in Barbados have not collapsed, as prophesied by that convicted felon. The dignity of work and decent work and decent pay has to be the hallmark of a Labour Party. This party was founded by men and women who understood the relationship between politics and labor. When we came to office back in Owen Arthur's time when he was your MP, he didn't discard the social partnership arrangement that Erskine Sandiford had put in place in the dark days of the early 1990s. We built on it. And today, Colin Jordan leads a ministry of the third sector, ensuring that there's collaboration with the unions and the private sector and government, working in tandem to ensure that the interests of working peoples are protected and advanced. We passed the Labour Clauses Bill into law. What did it do? Businesses coming to Barbados, getting concessions in construction, in tourism, in all the other sectors. We woo them by concessions. I'm sure Kerry Simmons will come and tell you tonight that that world is coming quickly to an end. But businesses cannot come to Barbados and get contracts from government and unfair our people. You have to pay people wages. You have to respect the allowances that your foreparents fought hard in the tourism sector, in the hotels, to keep those allowances, meal allowances, tips, all of these things. But you have some people that want to unfair Barbadians. And what did Colin Jordan's leadership of the Ministry of Labour do? We sat down with Tony Moore, good friend and colleague, and ensure that we put into law a regime that ensure that if you are getting a concession from the government of Barbados to establish and to continue a business operation, that if you unfair people, if you put people on short time in breach of the severance payments regulations, if you send them on vacation, or you force them to take holiday in circumstances where they are being unfair at work, those clauses will kick in. Can't get the benefit of tax concessions and unfair Barbadian workers. This is a government, my friends, that in 2020 passed legislation to ensure public workers who are working in posts above their established posts or their appointed posts for 3 years or more to be appointed in that post. In 2020, Go back to the dying days of the Oinafa administration in 2007. The last thing we did was to pass the Public Service Act. And David Thompson walked out of Parliament during that debate and said he was never coming back. That legislation that was much criticized in the dying days of the Oinafa administration is still the law. But what we have seen is a public service that is unable to ensure that people who are working in vacant posts day in and day out without any complaints, the business of government is still functioning. How can you have people living in a state of permanent contingency? That is not what a Labour Party does. And during COVID, we made sure that all of those people were appointed. They're going to work every day. And this, my friends, was during COVID. Only last month, 2,000 more workers in the public service receive appointments. Because we had to come back again in 2025 and make right in people's lives. This is a government that is working for you. This is a government that will not allow anyone to unfair the working people of Barbados. And Colin Jordan is at the helm of this government's policy to ensure the workers' interests are protected and advanced. So when the clown show just made an appearance comes to distract you with gimmicks, it was almost, it hurt me to see the Democratic Labour Party candidates going to pay their deposits. Most of them will lose those deposits. Errol Barrows and flicking out money as if they went to buy lotto tickets or to gamble. That is not what this politics is about. The world we live in is so serious, my friends, that any disruption going on will affect us in a serious way. That is why you need strong, decisive leadership on labor matters, because labor matters. We need strong, decisive leadership because the future of Barbados has to consider things that we never had to consider. People can write a movie on using AI technology. One of my campaign songs was written by a young man from St. Peter. He is no musician. He wrote the lyrics. He put it in an AI program, and we had about 10 versions of the song. Calypso, gospel, reggae, slow rock, soca, dancehall, R&B. AI gave you that in seconds, my friends. What is the future of working people in an environment, in an international circumstance where computer-generated artificial intelligence is not only to be used for the purposes of a search engine, but it can be used by people for good reasons and for bad. What does it mean for the future of work? We now have to safeguard the use of digital technology by employers, safeguard the interests of working people against the misuse of artificial intelligence. Businesses across the world can use AI technology, my friends, to determine when you can get vacation, when you can get promoted, or if you can keep your job because of performance evaluations being done by AI. We need to upgrade our laws to ensure that the rights that Barbadians have fought for and enjoyed since the early days of Grantley Adams, that we have stood by for generations do not become whistled away because of technology. These are the serious issues, my friends, and I am not coming here to scare you, but I'm asking you to draw the contrast between the gimmickry and going on social media for the sake of making people laugh and a steady hand like Colin Jordan, who's going to work for the people of St. Peter and all of the working people of Barbados from the time he was elected by you, the good people of St. Peter. So I've come tonight to make a case for Colin. I've come tonight proudly to say that we in the Barbados Labour Party value him. And I will tell you this. In 2022, shortly after the last election, Prime Minister Motley called me, asked me to return to politics, come back in the Senate. She gave me a strict mandate. And that was a Friday evening, and I was in the Senate on Monday in the budget debate in the Senate, the estimates debate. Didn't have time to read any government briefs, but I spoke about labor in my first speech. Things that are dear to me as a lawyer who represents working people in the courts. And after that speech, I got a call from the chief labor officer in Colin's ministry. Come and meet with them and help them to understand the issues that I raised in that speech. And I have been working with Colin Jordan ever since to ensure that the regulations, the laws, government policies continue to respect the rights and interests of working people. Colin Jordan is not on social media trying to make anybody laugh or make light of serious issues. You have a man that is true to his word. You have a champion in Colin Jordan. So in making the case to you for his re-election, my friends, I ask you to draw the contrast between a clown and a serious man. He cannot tell you anything that his party will do for working people in the years to come. Their platform is absent of any policy considerations for the future. Draw the contrast. They can tell you about Errol Barrow all the time. But imagine if the Barbados Labour Party was only talking about Grantley. Imagine that. We built on Grantley Adams Foundation. We took the best things that Errol Barrow and his administration did. We moved into Tom Adams' administration, back to Barron Sandy. We built, Oinafa came and revolutionized government, got Barbados working again, only for the Dems to lick it back up to worse than when Sandy mashed up this country and the economy. And under Mayor Motley, you heard the central bank governor today. 4 consecutive years of economic growth. What does that mean? It means that we are no longer at the brink of devaluation. It means that public workers in Barbados are not paid by government borrowing money from the central bank or the NIS. It means that our credit status is not junk. Things are not all rosy because we don't control all of the players on the field. But we need strong leadership in these challenging times. Give the Barbados Labour Party, give Mayor Amor Motley, a man that has worked, a man that has labored in the cause of the people of St. Peter, a man who has been a true champion of working people across this land. Give us Colin Jordan again. Dismiss the gimmicks, the lies, and the rhetoric of the Democratic Labour Party. It is not a serious institution anymore. It is not a comparator to what we have to do and consider. Can't even listen to them. Throughout this campaign, I will continue to make the contrast, because it is no longer about me, but it is about my children and your children. Everybody want to come to Barbados. Everybody want to come to work here. Why? Because we have built a solid reputation as a place for decent work among decent people. Give us Colin Jordan. Good night, and may God bless you all.